Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone, and sharing session ISACA Indonesia chapter February edition 2026. My name is Jana, and I'll be your host for today's sessions. Today's session is a bit special as it's our first monthly talk and sharing session during the holy months of Ramadan. And for those who are serving Ramadan, we wish you a blessed and smooth fasting month. For our friends joining from outside Indonesia, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. And we really appreciate your presence across borders. Now let's get ready for an exciting session on post-quantum cryptography, our not rate organizational readiness. Here's our agenda for today. And officially opening the session today, I will invite President of ISACA Indonesia chapter to give his opening remarks. Pak Harun, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ripko. Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's monthly talk and sharing session. As mentioned by Ripko, this is our first MTS that we deliver in English. Actually, it's been quite a long time that we've planned for this, especially after last 2 weeks we had a regional meeting with other chapters leaders in Southeast Asia. So we decided that we have to deliver this session in English lah, so we can share our event to other chapters. And also, as now we already have some people from other chapter. We have 11 participants from Singapore. We have one from India and one from Germany. It's quite surprising. So I would also like to extend our warm greetings to those who are fasting today. May this session bring you both knowledge and strength. Yeah, it's almost iftar. And today our focus is on post-quantum cryptography, which is a subject that may sound futuristic, but actually it carries the risk, the real risk right now, right? So with quantum computing advancing, the encryption we rely on it could be broken in very short time. So leaving sensitive data exposed to future decryption. So this is why we must act early by raising awareness, assessing our cryptographic assets, and preparing organizational roadmaps for transition. So I encourage each of you to take this session as a good opportunity to discuss, ask questions, as also share your thoughts. Yeah. So let's ensure our organizations are prepared for the quantum leap ahead. So thank you again for joining us. So without further ado, I will give the session to Chief Patricia to lead the session. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Harun, for your inspiring opening remarks, and we will move to the next date. ISACA Indonesia chapter will be held an annual general meeting on 5th March 2026. We strongly encourage all members to register and participate. The AGM will include important updates on reports, plans for the chapters is direction for 2026. So please don't forget to register and secure your participations. And before we begin to the next discussions, now allow me to introduce our moderator for today, Bu Patricia. Bu Patricia is a Deputy Director at Jasa Keuangan with extensive experience in the financial services industry. She also especially in anti-money laundering, financial accounting, data structures, international financial reporting standards, and banking law. Bu Patricia also as audit director in ISACA Indonesia chapter. Bu Patricia to lead the discussion today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ritko. Thank you for the remark, Pak Harun. Good afternoon, colleagues in Indonesia, Singapore, India, and good morning to our colleagues from Germany. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to express my respect to everyone who is fasting during this Ramadan. Wishing you strength and a blessed and smooth fasting. Welcome to today's seminar regarding to post-quantum cryptography. My name is Patricia, as has been introduced before. I'll be your moderator to this session. So, quantum computer capable of breaking current encryption may still be years away, but the relevance of PQC already emerged as we move forward to a more digital and interconnected world. At first now, the cryptography is something seems familiar to us, and this term has grasped the broader implication of data protection, privacy, and long-term information security. And as we know now, PQC is not purely a technical topic. It intersects closely with policy, compliance, and then to operational risk and enterprise-wide decision making. And I remember on last year, 2 years ago, September 2024, the G7 Cyber Expert Group, representative of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, US, and UK, has released a statement highlighting the benefit and risk associated with quantum computing. And on last month, January 2026, the group also recognizing the cryptographic risk that quantum computer may introduce to financial system. And then the group have already developed an advanced roadmap to encourage a coordinated approach for migration to quantum resistant cryptography and transition to cryptographic agility. So let us take a look to our company. How many encryption processes embedded in your system? Today, we are honored to welcome Dr. Martianus Frederic Ezerman, a leading researcher in post-quantum cryptography and quantum information. Fred served as a senior lecturer in Nanyang Technology University, Singapore, where his work focused on cryptography, coding theory, and quantum resistant security technologies. He completed his Ph.D. at NTU and has since produced substantial research in quantum error correcting codes and code based on cryptography, key foundation for the next generation of secure communication. And for academia, Fred is also beyond academia, Fred is also co-founding director of PQ Station at NTU, a unit business spin-off dedicated to supporting organization in their transition to post-quantum cryptography. I think Fred will tell us a lot of story of his journey helping transition. With his deep expertise and hands-on experience in PQC implementation, Fred is widely recognized as one of the region's foremost voices on preparing digital infrastructure for the quantum era. Let's begin our seminar and dive into post-quantum cryptography. Fred, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patricia and colleagues at ISACA. It's really a good opportunity for me to share with you because while I grew up in Indonesia and finished my primary and secondary education there, I've lived most of my life, especially my professional life abroad. my study is mostly done in the Philippines, Singapore, and then a few postdoctoral fellowship in Europe before coming back to Singapore and join National University Center for Quantum Technologies. And then after a few years, NTU called me back. They want me to join the faculty as primarily to do two things. The first one is to teach, of course, and mentor researchers, Ph.D. students, and undergraduate students who are interested in mostly areas related to cryptography and quantum safe cyber world. But also a big chunk of my portfolio is for industry engagement. So I've been helping government agencies and banking sectors and telecommunications, mostly in the region, but also in Middle East and in Indonesia. Some of the agencies in Indonesia have been helping out. So today, I want to share with you what we learned. Let me make it bigger. What we know and what we have accomplished in the sphere in this area of quantum safe technologies or post-quantum cryptography, but also to highlight to you some of the challenges, some of the difficulties, some of the complexities, as it were. So for the next 40 minutes or so, I will try to walk you through some of the significant milestones in the development of quantum technologies, and also in the particularly on the development of quantum safe cryptography. So this is my NTU email address. So if you have questions of more academic and technical questions, you can address it to this email. If you're more interested in the practical aspect, in the core migration process, I'm also involved as a co-founding director of PQ Station. This is a spin-off from NTU research activities. Co-founded this with colleagues from then computer science. Now they changed it to College of Computing and Data Science. Okay, so this is a website of PQ Station, and my email in PQ Station is very simple. It says fred@pqstation.com. For now, there is only one Fred in PQ Station, so I claim that email name. Okay, so let's take a close look at these three concepts, because a lot of confusions and a lot of noise in the literature, also in the public discourse, come from sometimes conflating all these three concepts or these three areas. Okay, so first we have what we call quantum computer or quantum computing. So what is this? It's a big project that we have been having since around 1980s in coordinated way to process informations using quantum mechanics. So the main idea is simple. The best physical theory we have is quantum mechanics. So why don't we try to process information using the principle of quantum mechanics instead of using electromagnetics and digital systems that we have right now? So what is the state of the art? We have now in the open literatures a few hundred physical qubits. So this is important, physical qubit. So big companies and large corporations and nation states are seriously trying to scale up the number of physical qubit and therefore the logical qubit. So the targets right now is to reach millions of physical qubit by 2035. Are we near that target? I would say progress is quite slow, not as fast as many people expect, but that is also normal in the development of grand scientific endeavor, right? A lot of instances in the history of science teach us that when we are developing something major, at the beginning it's very slow. Sometimes we go back, sometimes we regress, but at some point there is an inflection and then things just take off. Think, for example, of the development of transistors or microprocessors or even digital computing itself. Okay, so the one I highlight, 2035, is an optimistic approach. Are there commercial products? None. I mean, if you cannot just buy a quantum computer. That's what I mean with that. Okay, you can buy a few toy example quantum computers, but these are not interesting for cryptography. So there are some prototypes, and if you learn, for example, how to do Qiskit programming, then you can try to use some of the prototypes. The second concept is quantum cryptography. What is quantum cryptography? Well, quantum cryptography is narrow. It's a narrow project or section of quantum computer. So the question being asked there is, how can I use quantum devices to perform cryptographic tasks? So usually, how can I design optical devices that can give me random number? And how can I use that random number for key exchange so that I can use the key to encrypt information? So there are some commercial products, in the form of quantum key distributor and key management system. So they're available. I mean, if you want to buy, you can buy. Some big players there will be ID Quantic and Toshiba, but there are others. I mean, China has a few homegrown company, Taiwan has a few, and Korea has many other countries have it. The problem with this is that typically you need a very strong optical network, strong and secure optical network, and you really need people with specialized training. Now, our focus today is this notion or this project called post-quantum cryptography. So post-quantum cryptography uses classical computer. So you don't need to actually have quantum computers to do to implement post-quantum cryptography. So I hope that becomes very clear because it's important. We cannot continue our discussions if that is not clear. So we use classical computer. What changed is the following. Quantum computer lead to some quantum attack algorithms. Those quantum attack algorithms work on certain mathematical structure. So if your cryptography is built on these mathematical structures that quantum computers can attack, then your system will break when people can build large-scale quantum computer. So the question being asked for post-quantum cryptography is the following. My adversary has large-scale quantum computer, or they can access large-scale quantum computer. I do not have such computers, or I do not want to spend so much money to buy such quantum computer, or I don't have the expertise or the capability to build and operate large-scale quantum computer. So what we need to do then is to change the mathematical foundations of our crypto system. So we completely redesigned the mathematical foundations and implement it new in software, in hardware, in firmware, everything, integrating it with the systems. So this is our focus today. Of course, we know quite a lot about QKD and KMS, but that's a discussion for another day. my focus today in sharing with you is on this one. Again, we use classical computer. What we do is we redesign the mathematical foundations, implement it, and integrate it with existing infra and processes. So what do we have? We have published standard, we have published policy, directive, and mandates. We have implementation. So if you want and you have a strong team, you can actually pick up open source commercial grade implementations, for example, from OpenSSL, from Open Quantum Safe. A lot of these very nicely done implementations. If you want it to be custom made or you want it to be suited for your particular need, then there are some companies, including PQ Stations, that can help you with the design and implementations of some of this. And of course, these are already deployed. Still limited now, and I think in Indonesia is much less deployed than, for example, in North America or in China or in Singapore, but we are not that far behind. Many other places are still on the wait and see kind of stand. Okay, so let me state it again. The main assumption of post-quantum cryptography is that we do not have large-scale quantum computer, but our adversary have such quantum computer. We want to stay safe. How can we proceed? Okay. Let me bring you back to early 1980s. So maybe some of you know this is Richard Feynman. Feynman won the Nobel Prize in physics for his work in quantum electrodynamics, QED. So he, in this MIT Physics of Computation conference in 1981, he challenged the physics community in the US and North America in general at that point. He was saying, well, the best physics we know is quantum physics, and digital computer based on classical physics cannot do some of the advanced simulations that we want to do. So why don't we build quantum computer? So that was his challenge. But this is a machine of a different kind. Now, the second box here is toward the end of his address. For those of us who don't know enough physics, I would still suggest you to look this source up in the internet and read it. This is actually not a physics lecture because there isn't much of a technical physics discussion there, but it's more like a philosophical take on how to do quantum computation. So he outlines there what needs to be done more or less to reach a possibility of doing quantum computers and build it as a universal simulator. But let me bring you to this statement at the end here. I am not happy with all the analysis that go with just the classical theory because nature is not classical. If you want to make a simulation of nature, you'd better make it quantum mechanical. And it's a wonderful problem because it doesn't look so easy. So if you start hearing people, industry leaders, politicians, academics saying that we are very near to universal quantum computations, I would just say, well, verify that claim because it's not an easy thing to do. But okay, this was in 1980s, right? What he was saying is more like, okay, for theoretical physicists and maybe some physicists who are doing experiments with some of these quantum states. Now, the swing to cryptography happens in the middle of 1990s. So in 1994, Peter Shor started distributing to other researchers, other experts, the preprint of his paper. In this paper, he explained an algorithm and then extended form of this algorithm, so a set of algorithms that says that, look, if you can build me quantum computer then these algorithms will break these two problems. For those of us who are working in cryptography or in cybersecurity in general, prime factorization is the foundations of RSA crypto system. And discrete logarithm is the foundation, is the mathematical foundation for elliptic curve cryptography. Those of us who are playing in Bitcoins, who are playing in digital signature, maybe running some PSRE or CA business related to certificate authority, these are the two foundations of the things that we use every day for your business, for our work. Every time we use online banking, we rely on this too. So in 1997, this is the journal version, the complete version. I will not recommend those with not enough mathematical or computational science background to go into this, but the message is this. If we can build large-scale quantum computer, we can implement the algorithms here and break these two. Now, the other one here is a paper in the Symposium of the Theory of Computing in 96. This is done by this Love Grover at that time in AT&T Bell Labs. He was saying a random search using quantum computer is faster by a power of half. So let me rephrase it. If you want to consider a database of 100 entry, and this database is not ordered, so it's a random database. The expected number of search you need to do to get what you are looking for is half of it, about 50 search. And if you're unlucky, you need to go through every one of them and do 100 search. What he's saying is that if I use quantum computer, I can do that in square root of 100, which is 10. And if you need to look for like 1,000,000, then you need to do it only 1,000 times. So what he's saying is that I can do a search of random key, for example, much faster using quantum computer than using digital computer. So these two major results immediately connect building quantum computer and breaking cryptography. So if I were to revisit our first slide here, quantum computers will allow you to build algorithms, will allow you to implement algorithms that will attack existing crypto system. So, okay, so how large is large, right? A lot of people are thinking, well, we will do this next week, we'll do that next year. But no, actually there is a way to quantify. And this report is rather old now, it's about 7 years ago. But this summarizes what how many physical qubit will be required to break, for example, RSA 2048. It's 4,000 logical qubit and about 8.6 million physical qubit. How long will it happen? In about just over 1 day. Okay, so for example, if I want to break something like this curve, the one which is used a lot in Bitcoin, 256, then it's just 10.5 hours, again, with the same kind of power. Now, this is in 2019. Last year, this one goes down to 1 million. And actually, just a few weeks ago, there is a paper that I haven't verified, I haven't read, by a group in Australia. They are saying that actually, what you need is just about 100,000. So what my message is at this point is that the number of required computational source is going down. So we are going nearer and nearer toward this case where large enough qubit can be built, and the number of qubits that is required to break crypto systems that we are using daily is just becoming more and more realistic. So the message that I want to highlight here, technology is progressing so that although the progress does not seems to be very, very spectacular, but we are inching toward really breaking some significant crypto system, meaning the crypto systems that we use daily. So how bad is the effect? Let me highlight the attack that Patricia mentioned earlier. This, harvest first and decrypt later. If I want to send a secret message to Pak Harun, for example, so I will get the file or the message. I will hash it so that I put a fingerprint on it. Then I will encrypt and send the encrypted file to Pak Harun using public channel. That's what we usually do. Of course, you can say, well, why don't you deliver it personally to him? Yes, of course, we can do that, but that's too slow. We cannot live like that in the digital era. So I'm sending this encrypted message to him, but he cannot open it because I had not given him the key to open it. Okay, so then it's the issue of key exchange mechanism. I need to send him the key so that he can open it. But sending the key requires key exchange. And the key exchange mechanism that we use here is broken. Look at the explanation here. It's not like make your key larger or bigger or stronger. No, it simply is broken. Broken meanings, well, it doesn't matter. You make the length of the key 1 million times, it's still broken. So what is this attack called harvest now and decrypt later? It simply means right now your adversary doesn't have quantum computer of enough scale to break or to steal your key. What they do, they will identify important communications and harvest it in an encrypted form. So they still cannot open it, right? They cannot open it, but they are banking on the hope that quantum computer of large scale will soon be available, and they will then use it to steal the key that we are sending or we are exchanging using this key exchange mechanism, and then use the key to break what they have harvested before. Now, harvest now, decrypt later is not something that a typical hacker will do. Why? Because it's expensive. So a hacker will not typically spend $1 million to steal something worth $10,000. But in cryptography, there are certain adversaries that measure their success not on the financial benefit, but on other measures. For example, nation state or large corporations, they would want to do this regardless of the cost. Even if the cost is very high, they would say, yeah, it's worth it, because what they are attacking will be some very important communications, maybe between state leaders or between really high-ranking people, right? So the second problem or the second attack type that this quantum algorithm can do is actually more dangerous, but less mentioned. It's the digital forgery, digital signature forgery. So using quantum computers, we can forge a digital signature. So the digital signature done by using elliptic curve digital signature algorithm or RSA sign can be broken. And in practice, that means that you can do forgery. And if you can forge, then you can dupe the others of your identity. So for example, I can go into BI Fast system or Snap BI and pretend that I am some major bank, okay, or even some financial institution, maybe not necessarily a very large, but financial institutions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit my signature and it's going to be accepted, and then I can perform all sort of transactions without being flagged down. Okay, so what happened with the other type of cryptography, especially the symmetric type? Well, we just need to somehow enlarge the key, make it bigger, so that the security level will stay safe, even when it's being attacked by using Grover algorithm. So, for example, now a lot of movement is going from AES-128 to AES-256. So, essentially, this means you are extending the key length from 128-bit to 256-bit. And if you are curious as to what the mathematics are being used for this, these are the type of mathematics: lattice space, hash space, code space, multivariate, and isogeny. The most successful ones are lattice space, and then there is one contribution from here and one contribution from here. Okay, so all right, now I hope we all on the same page in knowing what are the risks when we will enter to that very risky territory. And people can steal your key being exchanged through public channel, and therefore they can open your communications. Another possible attack is they can forge your signature. And with signature forgery, you can impersonate other people or other entities, right? So in the cryptographic community, we started this process of replacing the classical cryptography with the one which is quantum safe. We call it quantum safe or post-quantum cryptographic protocols. So here is a timeline. And this is the estimate of when we need to, this is what we call it a paranoid estimate as to when large-scale quantum computer can be broken. As a cryptographer, we are always paranoid. We always assume that our adversary is more powerful than what they say they can do. Okay, so we have now 5 standards, 3 already in effect. 1 is in final drafting. This is actually delayed because of the government shutdown in the US. And there is 1 which is just chosen last year. And right now we expect this to become standard in 2027 March. Okay, so what happened? We will use MLChem to replace RSA and elliptic curve key exchange. And we use MLDSA and SLHDSA to replace RSA sign and ECDSA. Okay, so you might be asking, what kind of criteria we are using for this? These are the criteria. The level as you go from 1 to 5 will become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Of course, stronger levels typically means larger key and slower implementation. Okay, so another performance is we are looking at another important criteria is performance. It's not good if you have a very strong crypto system, but you need to wait 5 minutes to do something, to do a signing or to just exchange key. So you want performance. The performance needs to be better or at least the same with the existing classical, or if it is worse, then at least it's tolerable. And then there are some other criteria which is not exactly directly relevant with our session today. But for example, you don't want export restrictions, you don't want patent, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this slide is actually I just want to showcase that when we are deciding what algorithms we are going to use as a standard, it's not always the strongest algorithm. Sometimes the considerations is whether we understand really deep about this structure. Some other time we are looking at whether this is performs really the best among the criteria that we have. Now, if you do want to look into it, there are some literatures that I can suggest on the base of our decisions. Now, I come to the end of the first half of my presentations. So the idea for us here is not simply to switch from one crypto system to another, but the main idea is how over time and going forward we can maintain what is called cryptographic agility. Cryptographic agility is the ability to swap, replace, roll back, and combine, okay, as seamlessly as possible with minimum disruption. So when we are thinking about moving to post-quantum cryptography, the common questions will be, well, it looks to be so complex. It looks to be so complex. Where do we start? What can we do first? So there are some guiding principles. Utilize as much existing devices and systems as we can. We design hybrid implementation so we can still communicate backward and forward in terms of legacy systems and the new systems, how to test, how to benchmark, how to do sandboxing and proper rollout. Okay, because it's quite complex in that sense. That's why if people are asking, do we need to start migration now? My suggestion will be, yes, you start now. Why? Well, because then you can control and you can pace it. You can do it stage by stage, and it will be a lot cheaper if you have the planning, because you have time and you still have some clarity on some leeway on deciding which one to move first. Now, if suddenly if you decide that, well, I'll wait until, I don't know, 5 more years from now, and it's suddenly within this time period, there is a really big jump in the capability of quantum engineering, then you will be in much worse situation. We all will be in much worse situation, because if you look at digital system, in a digital systems, typically the weakest link is the one that people attack, right? That the bad actors will attack. So we don't want, like, we are now the safest or the strongest part in the entire ecosystems. Well, the entire ecosystem needs to go up together. Now, what if quantum computer cannot be scaled up? Well, the first thing we do as a cryptographic expert is never rely your security on if your adversary cannot build something. You always assume that the best preparation will be to prepare for the worst kind of outcome. So, and then make sure that the performance is something that you can tolerate. Okay, so the first part is heavy and quite technical. And I'll be happy to entertain questions later. Now, the second part is a lot clearer, actually. So let's look at mandates, guidelines, and global standards. I'll walk you through some of them without going into the detail. There is this important document from NIST, Transition to Post-Quantum Cryptographic Standards. The target of completion is 2035, and quantum vulnerable algorithms will be deprecated by 2030 and disallowed by 2035. And here is a more technical documents on how to do key encapsulations mechanisms. Okay. Importantly, it contains some guidance on hybrid key establishment, how to do hybrid. Okay. And if you want to know what will be the specific algorithms that you need to retire or disallow, I give you this list. You can refer back to the original documents and see it. But you can see many of these things are really the one that we are using daily for all of our system. Now, I'm comparing here the one that National Security Agency of US is using. So if you are dealing with some really critical infrastructure, typically this is the benchmark. Okay. So if you are running some military or intelligent data center serving some of these organizations, then this is the standard now. Look at the security level, 5, 5, and AES is 256. Okay, so you see a very big jump. And if you look at the timeline, at least in the US, you know when they are saying they should start and when they're finished. Now, if you look at, for example, in the geopolitical setup, Donald Trump, when he became president, he says that he will roll back all of the previous administration's decision. But in terms of post-quantum migrations, actually, he didn't roll back. He doubled down. He actually pushed, this administration is pushing to make it even stronger and faster. So, and that's the picture from the US side. This is now the picture from the European side. You can see here, issued by almost all of the EU member. Okay, I think the lead player here is BSI Germany and France one. Okay, also I think the Netherlands. So the picture is a bit different than the US. So here I'm putting the European side is a little bit more flexible. They have also recommendations and acceptable lists. Earlier in the US side, it's like, okay, just this, use this one. That's it. No compromise. In the European side, well, this is what they recommend. And this is the acceptable one. And this one is clearly do not use. And you see the transitions, the timeline for the transitions is very, very clear. By this time, you need to accomplish this. By this time, you need to accomplish this. By this time, you need to reach this level. Very clear. Now, this is the picture from BSSN internally in Indonesia. I help BSSN team in devising or reviewing some of their policy. So migration document has been published last month, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was last month. And so we are not that bad. We're not that far behind in Indonesia. Things are started to roll as well. Now, roughly for those who are interested to look at what is the performance? What is the performance? When you look at the performance, right? Some people mistakenly saying that post-quantum cryptography is slower. No. In fact, it is faster. In terms of implementation, it is faster. A few times I was invited to give technical sessions in scientific gathering to explain why it becomes so fast. Well, it will require quite a deep number theoretic background, so I'll skip it. But I just want to highlight to you that faster is the norm in terms of performance. So many people say, well, it must be slower, we will be doomed, we will need to wait longer. No, it's not the case. It's faster. So what is the price to pay? The price to pay is that the key size will be bigger. That is true. So for example, this is a very popular key exchange mechanism that we are using. It's based on elliptic curve. It only requires 32 bytes key length. Compared to the one that we are using, the post-quantum one, that's a lot bigger, like 500 times bigger. Okay, so that's a price to pay. The key size will be bigger. That means the memory allocation needs to be bigger. Now, there's some slides here that you can take a look at. This explains to you the price to pay when we are implementing various pure classical, pure post-quantum, and hybrid. So when you see something like this, plus, 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 it's hybrid. And this is the penalty. The penalty is up to about 100%. Okay, so from 14% to 100%. You can see this, and if you are interested, you can take a look at the resource, okay, for the TLS. I'm just showing this to give a more realistic understanding of what we are looking at. Okay, so it's faster. It takes a larger memory because the key size is bigger. And if you're combining it, the classical and the quantum, we know exactly what is the price that we pay and at what security level we are playing at. Okay, so the short answer, if people questions whether this is ready for deployment, my answer is it's more than ready. We have already been using it. It's just that maybe still a large number of us haven't seen it and have not really considered moving toward that direction. So sometimes the hesitancy comes from not knowing exactly how these new algorithms performs and how are they connected to one another. Okay, so this is my last slide actually. What are the steps that one can take, an organization can take when we want to move toward agility? And specific in here is how to move to post-quantum cryptography or post-quantum agility. I want to show a little bit about examples of available tools for cryptographic asset inventory. Now, this step one is actually applicable to every organization, not just for those who want or care to migrate to post-quantum cryptography. What I mean with that is even those organizations that says, well, I can wait. I will wait 2 or 3 years. It is important to know where your cryptographic objects are, who are responsible for them, how are we using them. And these cryptographic assets, it's all over the place. If you ask yourself honestly, do you know where your cryptographic assets are? Many of us, even at the leadership level, will say, honestly, I don't really know. So it's important to know where your assets are, who are responsible for them, and what kind of risks they pose to your organizations with respect to quantum attack algorithms. So you can use the insight from here to improve your security posture, either classically or in a quantum sense. And then from there, you can identify risk. And then you need to build internal capabilities or engage teams that have capabilities that you can keep close to your team. Okay? Then it's important to identify partners and vendors who are ready to bring your security level to quantum safe. Keep discussing with them about your need and possible implementations. Okay, and it's important to do the planning. So for me, for the next 1 or 2 years, it's important that every organization look at their existing posture, understand their risk, and start planning. So build internal capability, identify partners and vendors, and plan your migration roadmap and timeline. Okay, so I have a few minutes. I want to show you how QVision work. Of course, I mentioned to you that there are other providers of this kind of service. In fact, one organization, if they have internal capability, they can create it themselves. It's called CBOM, CBOM, Cryptographic Bill of Material, and there are standards that you can refer to. But let me go to my browser now, and yeah, where is my browser? Okay, let me move there. Yeah, yeah. So this one you can look at the policy that you want to check against. There are many policies. This tool kind of already have this policy pre-built. When you want to check the health of your system or your organization with respect to, you need to know what benchmark are we using. So, for example, let me zoom into Indonesian context. BSSN has this strategic electronic system level 3. And so you can use this if you're an Indonesian entity that is required to reach this security level. Then you can use this as your benchmark. And you can also create your own policy if you want, or if you know how to do so. And then let me just go into one example here and show you what we can do. So from this one is looking at the health of the network. Okay, so the input to this QVision tool here is the pickup file from the network, PCAP file from the network. And then we are comparing it with respect to the BSSN electronic system. And here is the summary. So the security score is 63. And here I can go detail into the security report. I can take a look at all of this, overview, scan results, and so on. So let me zoom in. How many is high risk? How many medium risk? How many low risk? And if you look at the high risk, what is the issue? I can dip down and say, well, the algorithm being used is not accepted by the standard. The standard requires a higher one. And a good cryptographic inventory system should tell you what is the recommendation. And it will need to tell you which one is this service which is which has some issue. So let me go into this. What is the issue here? This one. So if I go into this, what will be the issue? The same one. So then what are the other vulnerabilities? The TLS version. So a good inventory will tell you which one you need to take care, what is the issue, how do you dig deeper into it, and how do you fix it. Okay, so that is the situation where you have, for example, network. You want to analyze your network. Here, if, for example, you are an organization that needs to manage a lot of certificate, digital certificate, then you will need to know where are your keys, how are they connected, which one is actually now following the right security level, which one is expired, which one needs to be renewed, and so on and so forth. So I can really go deep, and I can look at, so for example, when is it expiring, which one I need to take care of, and what is the profile of the certificates. I can have a complete picture of this. What is my HSM? If you're running a bank or sensitive, you're keeping sensitive data, then you will have this. So some HSM already has, for example, post-quantum safe module, some don't. But also importantly, for some of us in the leadership position, sometimes we need to know a really big picture. In my network, where are the certificates located? Which one is the interdependency? Then I can go into there and I can see clearly the picture of where my certificates are, what they are being used for, and what kind of algorithms underline them. So I will stop here, and now happy to return it to Patricia for Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fred, for your very comprehensive explanation to us. And then one thing that I learned that I think that we cannot run this quantum crypto in our common computer, but this explanation really help us. Yeah. I will invite all colleagues in here. If you have question, you can do a post in chat, or you can ask verbally. Just raise your hand, and I will let you to to go and to ask directly to Fred. But Fred,
Yep.
before we have a question from our college, maybe I really want to know, you are actively in the PQ one unit NTU. Could you explain to us which I mean that in which sector or in which industry who are more advanced in using this PQC technology? And in here, I believe that a lot of people, we have come from a varied industry, so maybe it will bring us urgency to do it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay. So very good questions, for which the answer is it depends who the regulators and the business sectors are seeing as their adversary, and whether they need to comply to certain mandates. Okay, so in general, there are two types of organizations that are looking into this post-quantum migration. The first ones are those who are under clear mandates to start migration. Different countries seems to have different patterns. In Singapore, it's
yang depan aja Pak.
fintech. In Singapore
yang
is
paling
the
gampang aja Pak, pinggir kali juga nggak apa-apa sih. Gampang lewat mana?
okay. So in Singapore, banking, fintech, so BFSI and telcos are the one driving this hard. The consideration from banking is very clear. They want to be following the same timeline as the US and the European because of payment system, because of settlement across countries. They want to capture also the market in Southeast Asia. So, for example, at some point, all of the US and European banks will need to migrate. They have a clear timeline, right? 2030, 2035. And at that point, Singapore wants to be on par in the BFSI and telco. Another consideration is competitive advantage. They're saying that in this region, we want to be the very first one to capture the demand and the business opportunity. Sensible. Hong Kong is thinking along the same line, and Middle East thinking along the same line. In the US, North America, aside from banking and telco, very clearly the defense sectors, the military, the intelligence sectors, they are rolling deployment. So what happened typically there is the following. They already have an existing system. This system is working well. But because of the mandates to bring it to quantum safe, they're engaging companies like us or engaging the universities through NTU, getting us as an expert consultant to bring their systems to quantum safe. So sometimes it means we help them design the hardware cryptographic processor. Of course, we cannot make it ourselves, but we help design and then we give it to them. Then they will print it somewhere. Sometimes they ask for a specific cryptographic library. Then we discuss with their internal development team, application development team, and then they do it. In some cases, they ask us, can you make a cryptographic library for certain protocol of communication like MQTT? So certain areas, certain countries sort of like have their own priorities. In India, in Indonesia, what I understand is that government sectors wants to be the first one, especially on some of the critical infrastructure. Yeah. Okay, so that's roughly what's happening now. In terms of timeline, the way some of these governments or regulatory bodies enforce their timeline is they're tied to a budget. So if you read, for example, a national security memo issued by the US, it's recently declassified. So it used to be a classified document, but it has been declassified. It actually stated very clearly that every relevant ministries and federal agencies will need to report, show progress or show difficulties, and it's tied to the budget. So if they are not following the timeline, then they may not be supported as well. Now, Singapore is more like, okay, we need to be competitive. We need to be the first. We need to be the one that is at the forefront. In terms of the government, for example, related closely to public service, digital services for the civilians, for example, it's more like, let's wait for a while first. Let's see what happened, how things evolve, and then when it's become more stable and we know more, we have more people who are capable of doing that, then we can proceed. So different regulations affect different organizations, and in some cases they are looking at it as really a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
I see a few questions in the chat.
Yeah. So that the government concern about this is really one derive the changes in the adoption in PQC. Okay.
Yes.
The other we have a question from Chandra. What are the roles of information system auditor in PQC migration? Yeah, most of all who attend today is IS auditor. Yeah.
Okay. So, Pak Chandra, hello. It's good to see you here. In many of the migration documents, including the one by CSA Singapore, the one by the European authorities, if you go back into the BSI document and the Netherlands document, KNO documents, which are used a lot, and also in documents issued by NIST, it's very clear that the auditors are involved in the design of the migration documents, especially in identifying the persona, what the European agencies call the persona. Now, let me pick or highlight an example with QVision, right? Or similar product. So cryptographic asset inventory. When we are building our asset inventory and measuring the health of, for example, our network or the correctness of our software implementations, it's always against a policy. So it's important to set this policy. And this policy is, when setting the policy, is typically involve auditors. The second part, I'm not an auditor myself, but sometimes I interact with auditors in actual migration process, is they are ensuring that when we are saying that migration has been done on this particular system, on this particular applications, that there is a proof that it has been done and that it is maintained properly. So in fact, QVision was partially designed to be an auditor's tool, because then they can track the vulnerability and the correction being made. Of course, this is not a product which is really new because of PQC migration. No, this kind of product is designed primarily to ensure that even for those who don't care about PQC migrations, when you need to comply to a certain classical standards, then you need to prove, right? You need to show. When a regulator come and assess the compliance of a particular organizations, they need to know, the organizations themselves, they need to know against what am I measured. And if I'm given a low score, how can I improve? And once an improvement done, it's in their interest to also now go through a verification process. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from Fatima, but I would like to reword her question if in my company or in my organization, I identified that we have maybe about 4,000 process using encryption. So how we should do a filter on that? Which one we should be prioritized, or maybe we don't need to convert it all. We don't need to migrate it all. Maybe you can give us insight. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll try to be brief, although it depends really very much on the complexity of the organizations and what the business process involves. But many people, when they hear about quantum risk, they think that quantum computer actually break everything. The quantum computer will destroy our entire security. What I can say for sure is it's not true. At this point, what is safe to assume is that we need to prioritize systems or applications that protect data with very long shelf life. So let me take an example in public service. So when you issue digital certificate for diploma, university diploma, or when you issue certificate for property, this kind of certificates needs to live for a long time. So those are the things that you need to prioritize. In banking, there are some documents that needs to be protected for more than 30 years. If we are talking about VVIP communications, there are some records that needs to be well protected for 50 years, 75 years, and so on. There are some company secrets, some company trademarks, some company trade secrets that needs to be protected for a very long period of time. So those are the ones that we need to prioritize. Healthcare record, all of these scans, all of these results related to somebody's health, it remains valid at least until this person's end of natural life. So these are the ones that you need to prioritize. Essentially, documents, communications that have very long shelf life. So if, for example, it's a transactions that can be completed or must be completed in 35 seconds or in 3 minutes, you don't need to prioritize that. An invitation letter signed digitally for a meeting that will occur next week. Well, you don't need to protect that using quantum computer. I mean, it's an overkill. And it's basically says that you don't quite understand the risk. So for me, a more important formulation will be the following. Which one among my cryptographic assets and data will need long-term protection? That one is the one that I need to prioritize.
Yeah, great. So we don't need to worry about too many things that we need to prepare, because if you want to change, it needs a lot of effort and it needs a time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fred, could you give us insight of the banking adoption of PQC, or maybe you have experience in helping bank sector. Yeah.
Okay, so what we have been doing, mostly we have been helping several central banks in communicating. So for example, okay, so I can only highlight those in the public domain. Okay, so with OCBC, because OCBC has a very close connection to NTU, we are actually the partner in PQC migration. You can find it in the website of OCBC. In fact, our team is basically closely working with their emerging technology team. What happened there is we started with training. We train batches of the IT personnel, including also the decision maker, so the C-level, those who are related, whose responsibility relate directly with cybersecurity. Now, after training, then we do a few projects. So, for example, what is clear is how to secure the communications between the branches and the main office, right? The main operation and the branches. So basically, we are upgrading the VPN and the IPsec, the IP security connection to quantum safe. And of course, the monitoring of the network health using QVision, because a lot of these networks is not just internal, but also forward facing or outer facing. So we are helping them in mapping which one needs monitoring. With a few other banks, we are just starting. With OCBC, we have started like a year and a half ago. So we are expanding. So what happened is internal training, increasing your internal capability, and then we help them map the health or the cryptographic assets. And then after that, we are looking at more rolling it into an actual system. Still limited, still with sandbox, still with careful rolling, but that's what's happening. With several central banks, what we are helping them is really to do pilot projects in asset inventory, because the plan is they want most of the BFSI sectors to do the same. And to understand the process, they want to do it first for their own internal system. And what happened is they invite a few providers, of course, not just us, a few providers, so that they get a good feel of the advantages and the drawbacks of every offering, right? Those are the one that we are doing with some central banks. Another use case that they are using is how can we secure email communications between central banks. So central banks in country A with central banks in country B. We are doing this with the partners who are implementing this in Bank of International Settlement. And of course, from a perspective of cryptography, I mean, it doesn't really matter what you are using. Email, message, VoIP, we can treat them as the same. So then we are also now rolling into that. Now, very importantly for Bank of International Settlement is the RTGS. We are doing some limited pilot project to assess how we can bring that to quantum safe. Now, one more thing that I need to mention, some payment system. So we are also in close discussions with some major payment system. With MasterCard, we have been collaborating for a very long time on the security aspects and the product assessment. And also with a few players here regionally in Malaysia and in Australia. So with them, it's at this stage is really cryptographic asset inventory. That's for banking mostly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Regarding the payment, I have one question.
Okay.
As we know that the quantum computer is the big threat for blockchain also. So
Yes.
what is your view regarding the payment? As you may know now that our payment system in the future will be developed more on like blockchain-based payment, like the cryptocurrency, or many country and many company already try to issue stable coin for the payment. So what do you see the crypto payment ecosystem, the vulnerable in there? Thank you.
Okay. So this is, of course, is something that the community is discussing a lot, mostly because distributed ledgers, many people know it as Bitcoin and the rest, is very heavily cryptographic. Okay. So what is clear is that it requires hash functions and it requires signature. It requires digital signatures. And it's clear that in the digital signatures, the current system is broken by quantum computer. Now, for those of us who are familiar enough with Bitcoin systems, most of the variants of Bitcoins uses a curve which is called a 256 curve. Okay, it's an elliptic curve, 256, and that is actually one of the weakest elliptic curve being used right now. It was chosen as part of the commonly used tools because of its speed. It's very fast. So for sure, the digital signing will move toward quantum safe. I mean, there is no doubt in the mind of almost every player in this business that one needs to move. In fact, if we go deep into the literature, there are some proposals already in the community that are concrete, including on how to transitions the wallet. Because you see, the thing with the wallet is you still need to make sure that it is backward compatible. So it's not like at some point you replace it with a new system and everybody else wallets which are done with the old system now becomes worth nothing. I mean that will make a lot of people very, very angry. So you want to transitions in a hybrid mode before you move completely to quantum safe. In short, there's a lot of discussion on that, and if those of you who are in exactly this business line, then we can arrange for a more technical deep dive. Very clearly, the digital signing algorithm needs to move to quantum safe. That's what absolutely clear to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Fred, for all your explanation to our question. I think that we are in the end of our time is limited.
Yeah.
So I will make a resume. Let's start the PQC migration. Prepare the roadmap in your organization. We have get a lot of insight from this seminar. So do it now. It will be too late for you to start. And then we hope today's discussion will inspire and give you fresh perspective and strengthen your understanding of PQC and encourage collaboration across team and industry to prepare for the future cryptography. Before we end our monthly talk session, we would like to invite all of the participants to open cam and we do a photo session. Yep. The photo session, Mbak Rifko, could you help us for the photo session?
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Patricia, for guiding today's session clearly and smoothly. And also thank you so much, Frederic for sharing organizational readiness in quantum era. Before we officially close, let's for documentation for those who are late. Please turn on your camera so we can capture this moment together. In the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We wrap today's one without answering. On behalf of ISACA Indonesia chapter, we would like to thank each of you for your participation. We would also like to thank our colleagues from other chapter regions. Thank you so much for your presence and support. For those who are in Ramadan, we hope this session has been a meaningful way to spend your ngabuburit. We look forward to seeing you again at our upcoming event, and have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your iftar and please stay safe. Thank you, everyone, and see you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bang
Thank you.
Brad.
everyone. Thank you.
Very nice insight for today.
Thank you.